And you're all set. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Seth. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the September 9th meeting of the Scituate Conservation Commission. Just gonna have to read a couple of quick things. This meeting being held virtual as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. And the town of the Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during the meeting. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. So with that, we have an agenda, and I think, do we have on the agenda discussing the town forest, Jen?
No, we do not. So yes, we should add that. And we also have the continuance request received today for the Old Oak and Bucket.
Okay. All right, I can read that. So the amendment is we're going to continue that town forest for the scouts. We have the other Summer Street land on the docket. So I'd like to get a motion to accept the agenda.
I make a motion, we accept the agenda with the changes noted, or the additions noted.
Thank you, Jen. A second?
I'll second that.
I had to call. We'll give it to Brendan. He's a little older. So motion by Jen, second by Brendan. All in favor? Aye. That's you and me, Eric.
Yes.
Okay. So right off the bat, as Jen said, we have a request to continue which one are we doing? Continuing?
279, 281 Old Oak and Bucket to October 21st.
Got it. A motion to continue that. Do they think they'll be in pretty good shape to have something by then, Jen? Do you know?
I do not know.
Okay. All right. So, Jen or somebody?
Sure. I make a motion, we continue 279, 281 Old Oak and Bucket to 10/21, 2024.
Thank you. And a second? I think it's Eric's turn.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor? Brendan?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Thank you. And then 280 Central Ave. And the applicant's looking to continue this to September 23rd?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion, we continue 280 Central Ave to September 23rd, 2024.
And a second?
I'll second that.
That's Eric. All in favor, Brendan?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Great. So now an RDA for 18 Oliver Street. And do I have to open that one?
No, we've opened it. We continued it because I'm looking for if the applicants here, if they can raise their hand. I'm not necessarily seeing their name, but today I did get a letter from Brad Holmes about that site. I just got it this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to even send it out. What he said is that what they have planted, meets the requirements for barrier beach and land subject to coastal storm flowage, and that it won't prevent the dune. It won't get in the way of the dune, and it's as far as meeting those requirements. But he did provide a list for them to pick their additional plants from, and those he says are native coastal salt tolerant plants. So that sounds like a good direction. I just haven't had a chance to read it or even forward it to everybody.
So do we want to, if there's no one on for this, do we want to continue it again?
I'm okay with that. So we can have a chance to look at it and give any responses if we want to be more specific. I
Okay.
think that's a good idea.
What do we have for time available, Josh? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to continue this one to the 23rd?
I make a motion, we continue 18 Oliver Street to September 23rd.
A second?
I'll second that.
Second by Eric. All in favor, Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. And then we have 530 Hadley Road. Proposed driveway expansion. Do I have something? Okay. Uh,
Y-
yeah. On September 9th, 2024, at 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 7 and 30700 Town Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the request for a determination of applicability by Renee Hasley for installation of parking apron to accommodate 530 Hadley Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda on the website. Excuse me. So,
All right. So I don't see Renee on the list here. If the applicant is here, if they can raise their hand so we can unmute them. But it was a request for a parking spot along the road, 40 feet by 8 feet with pervious pavers, and they are in land subject to coastal storm flowage. They're not in a buffer.
excuse me. Um, I mean, I have looks like an assessor's plan maybe with a little sketch on it.
Yes.
That's what you have up here.
Yeah, and then just a photo of the area so you can sort of see where they are.
Yeah. It doesn't seem too complicated. Do you want to, have you had a chance to take a look at that, Jen, or
Yeah, I think it'd be good to, I guess the other question would be get some details on the pervious pavers when they are ready to put them in, that should be sent to us before the work happens.
okay. Um,
I'm not sure if there's anything else to consider as far as making a parking spot along the road, but from the perspective of it not being in buffer or in other areas, it seems okay. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they need to talk to
yeah,
DPW for making a parking spot on the road.
well, that's maybe just noted or something that they should be clarifying that with DPW. Um, Jen, any questions or thoughts?
She might have stepped aside for one moment.
Okay, Eric?
No, I'm good.
Brendan,
I think I'm good. Thanks.
we'll get back to Jen in a second. Do we have anybody in the audience on this one?
I don't see any raised hands.
Okay. So Jen, I think if we, like you pointed out, we want to make sure that they give us some information on the pavers, maybe a little more detail. It shouldn't be pitching towards the road. You know,
Okay.
that this thing should be pitching back towards their lawn. We're not kind of getting any of that information here, so. And they definitely want to speak to DPW because they're gonna, if they're trying to join this with pavement, you know, Hadley Road pavement, they're gonna be working in the town way.
Okay.
So they definitely need a permit from DPW for that.
Okay. So I will get that information from them before we
Okay.
give them anything.
Yep. But yeah, we could use some info on the pavers and make sure that it pitches back onto their property, not out towards the street. All right. Does anyone of you want to make a motion? No,
I can make a motion to,
it's a -3.
oh. Yeah, make a motion for -3 on 530 Hadley Road. Driveway expansion.
Brendan,
I guess I'll second it.
thank you. Frank, yes. And Jen, do we have,
I don't know if we have Jen at the moment. We might need to come back. I'm still
Okay.
helping Penny get in also.
oh geez. Can she see us?
She's having an issue with the link.
Oh, shoot.
Um,
All right, we're gonna have to hold up for a minute then.
yeah,
On that part. Can we jump over to a couple administrative?
I think we can. Is
Yeah.
there something we can talk about that's not a vote?
We have a raised hand.
Okay. Frank, are you okay if I see
Yeah.
who it is? Okay, all right. I'm gonna whoever's unraising your hand, I'm gonna unmute you. If you can please introduce yourself and let us know your address. Thank you.
Penny Scott Pipes, 8 Booth Hill
Oh,
Road.
Penny.
There we go.
I can't get on the computer.
Well, that's all right. You're on the phone, right?
Yes, I am on the phone. I'll just listen if you keep me unmuted.
For you, Penny, anything.
Oh, thank you, Frank. You're so good to me.
So we lost Jen for a minute. We just had a quick discussion on RDA at 530 Hadley Road, but we're gonna hold on that vote until
Jen.
Jen comes back.
Okay, did you do 18 Oliver Street?
We continued it because we don't have much
Oh,
to go on here. And the applicant
Wow, okay.
wasn't on. So
okay.
so we
Okay,
don't have that.
we're
so-
moving on.
So now we're at 333 Clap Road. The can you bring the same one up, Josh? I should be able to do these by memory by now. No. On September 9th, 2024, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws for the request of a determination of applicability filed by Christopher McCarthy for landscape and grading work located at 333 Clap Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available on the agenda posted on the website. Okay, so, but Penny, you don't have the.
I don't have a picture in front of me, and actually, I did not get this plan, so I'm kind of blind here sitting. Driveway expansion, huh?
Well, this is the next one.
Oh,
This
no, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong spot.
We're on
Landscaping
333
and
Clap Road.
grading
Yeah. So if
in the buffer.
yeah,
So do you remember the Penny? We did a septic here this summer on this site, right, Jen? I think we conditioned a septic system.
I don't know that was here,
Okay, that was
but
next door then or something.
I do have McCarthy is here if we want them to
Sure.
speak to it. All right, I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right,
Good
great.
evening,
Yeah, this is Chris McCarthy, CG McCarthy Landscape. Appreciate it.
Chris. Maybe you could just give us a little lowdown on what you're
Yeah,
trying to-
I think I have the homeowners on too. That was the other one, Grant Spradlin. But I think the septic was for the neighbor's property.
Okay,
Because I remember when we talked about that with the homeowners, that they had mentioned kind of the neighbors going through some sort of process for that, obviously.
Yep.
So do you want, I can give you kind of an overview on what we're doing. Does that help?
yes, please.
Okay. So it's a landscape construction project, and this was kind of raised up as some of the existing work is in the 50-foot buffer zone. There's you'll see the engineering plans that were done a couple of years back as the homeowners had originally looked into putting a pool in, which is no longer the plan, which is why we have these plans. So what I put together was kind of a mock-up on what we're trying to do. Essentially, there's an existing bluestone patio that we're just resetting. But what we brought to your attention was we'd like to add a fieldstone wall, like a sitting wall about 2 feet deep. That kind of goes about 30 feet into the buffer area, all on the homeowner's property. And in doing so with that, we'll be doing some regrading, kind of redirecting some water away from the wetlands. And there was one other item I brought up about doing a potential dry well, which I noted if you're looking at that picture right now, which is letter C, the homeowners have existing downspouts kind of overflowing. It's technically on their property, but based on Merrill's work, it's into the wetlands. So one of the proposals was to bury those, essentially those pipes. Reason being to keep it out of the wetlands for the time being, and then aesthetically, it's kind of a stacked fieldstone wall in the middle of the customer's property that we'd like to kind of lose if we can. That's kind of an overview, I guess, on what we're trying to do.
When you say lose, Chris, you're trying to eliminate that retaining wall?
So yeah, if you look at C, it's kind of like just a dry stacked wall on a hill. So part of this plan was to hopefully remove those rocks that are there. And as opposed to the pipes that are currently just open-ended into the yard coming out of that wall, we were going to bury those downspout pipes into the ground just to create a dry well.
Okay. So it's a patio.
There's an existing patio that we're just resetting. So you can
Yep.
see up top on the map. Yeah, that's there's an existing patio, bluestone patio. We're just resetting the existing bluestone that's there. It's just an older patio, so it's it's sinking and dipping a little bit.
Sure.
But like I said, the larger to do, I guess, is on that picture. There's an existing railroad tie wall around the patio that we'd like to remove, just it's all rotted out. And in doing so, we want to add a fieldstone retaining wall kind of going out. So if you're looking in the center of the picture right there at my nice diagram.
A is like a retaining wall that's extending perpendicular to the house.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And what's the purpose of that?
That's so the time being, right? You can see, I guess, see stone patio up top.
Mhm.
There's a sitting wall that's railroad ties right there.
Yeah.
So the grade of the property right behind that is about 18 inches higher than the bluestone patio.
I see.
So what the homeowners would like to do is eliminate the railroad tie wall and drop the grade flush with the bluestone patio, just for, the sake of flat ground for the kids. Because that whole property essentially from the patio down slopes down pretty steeply into the wetlands. So in doing so, we'll kind of build out that sitting wall and make that grade pretty level in front of the fieldstone wall.
Mhm.
So are you proposing to add more fill on either side of that wall?
No, we're actually eliminating, I guess. So there's a large slope going down, so we're trying to actually remove and pull out to flatten the yard a bit. Just in that area where that fieldstone wall extends.
Brendan,
So-
go ahead.
Just a quick question. I'm looking at the satellite view of the site, and I know you just explained the situation, but just so then I am on board with what you said, just for clarification, that bluestone patio is actually below grade existing. That retaining wall is not holding up the patio, but rather holding back the soil in the lawn heading towards the wetland, and you want to remove that soil down to the grade of the existing patio and slope back up towards.
So
The
it won't be
wetland
sloped.
is-
It would correct what you said. There's the existing, I guess if we want to call it sunken, the bluestone pad is existing. So we're trying to remove that height behind it. So that you could essentially at same grade walk off the back of that patio onto a lawn, where right now you're stepping up over a railroad tie retaining wall.
Okay, I understand. And I don't know what the spot grade is of that stone patio, but what elevation you're going to be basically going out to 115. So basically you're dropping it down to that, if I'm reading the topo line correctly.
Yeah, I'm
You'd be
looking
basically
at it
dropping down
myself
to like-
too. Yeah. So essentially if we're calling the patio 115, that 115 would carry out to the end of the proposed fieldstone wall,
I see.
as opposed to it now being higher right now, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted clarification on that.
No, sure.
Because I just was a little confused. So thank
Yep.
Brendan? Thanks, Eric.
I guess I'm not, the part about the dry well. There are existing pipes underground?
So there's the existing downspouts for the gutters on the house
Right.
are buried. They come out, there's like an irregular stacked wall you can kind of see on C.
Yeah.
It's kind of an eyesore. And the pipes are essentially just kind of sticking out of the rocks and overflowing into the back of the homeowner's property. So this isn't a must, but the idea was the preference for the homeowner was to eliminate that kind of not attractive looking dry stacked wall in the back. But in doing so, like I said, there's still the pipes coming off the house. So the idea was to keep the pipes in that area, but essentially bury that to make a dry well so we can lose that dry stacked wall.
Okay.
We figured that was a better solution than, letting the pipes run off or extending the pipes just into the, into the wetlands, which we're not, obviously we want to avoid doing that.
Okay. And everything here is in the 50, which is not ideal, but okay.
And this came about where, like I said, they did this when they looked into putting in a pool.
Mhm.
So what we found out was, their existing kind of patio retaining wall is a brick walkway up there, a shed, like everything. It's obviously, it's an older house. This stuff's been there for a while. Everything's been in the 50 for a while.
Okay. I guess I have no other questions.
Jen, I skipped over you originally. Do you want to?
I guess what I was thinking about was it'd be great to have some sort of, and I don't know how to request this, so this is what I'm looking up, but maybe be good to have something when all this is done,
Have a plan?
documenting. Is
Yeah.
that something to just at least ask for?
Well, I
Yeah.
think having an as-built plan would be a pretty reasonable request. So that would be a good thing.
Okay.
And then
Is
I would
Pe-
add that I know they had this, they had an engineer look at the site, and I know we're working in the buffer anyway, but just to mention that we'll include our language about how the resource area is not confirmed with this determination.
Right. Have we got either Jen or Penny?
Penny hopefully
I'm
is
here,
on with
but
the phone,
I really don't have a comment
and I
because I
don't think we're
can't
going to get Jen
see.
back.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
Mr. Snow, you do have one hand raised if you
Yep,
are taking a
Mr.
comment.
Mr. Spradlin.
Yes, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I was just raising my hand because you're asking if anyone's in the audience. I'm the homeowner of 333 Clap Road.
Great. Do you want to add anything more to Chris's? You can
I
do it
think Chris,
afterwards too.
yeah, explained it pretty well. Just to confirm, yes, it is our neighbors that put the septic in and had some major grading done there throughout the summer. And here, just a comment about the drywall, like Chris said, this is an old house, 1876. These downspouts were probably done, I'm not sure how long ago, but the previous plan, the wetland was much further back. So this area in Area C wasn't part of the previous plan. That only, was identified when we got the plans done for the pool. Yeah, it's all existing pipes, letting out the water from, the gutters into that area. And so it pools right there, which is why we would prefer for it to be a dry well and buried.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I got a couple of quick questions. So off the railroad tie retaining wall, there's a circle, like within a circle dotted.
Yeah, that's an abandoned septic, from what I understand from the
Okay,
previous plan.
the arrow points to it, but it runs out of
Yeah,
information. So
yeah. That's an approximate location of an abandoned septic. The septic is now to the left, where you kind of see more aligned with like the brick walkway. And
got it. Yep. Okay. So that's why that got regraded there. So that leach field is in that area where it says 20 feet, 10 feet. Okay. That was a
I'm
concern
in, Frank.
Oh, good. Can you
Yep.
see this plan now?
Yes, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I
So-
have a computer. Yeah.
All right,
I'm
good.
sorry.
No, that's good. So I think what happened, I mean, it's pretty obvious that the wetland line sort of ran behind stone wall. Hey, Penny.
I just muted her phone.
Okay,
Penny, I
good.
muted your phone.
Is she on now, do you think?
Yes, yes. If we can make her a co-host, she's in on her computer, it seems. So she can unmute herself. Thank you.
Penny, if you can unmute yourself.
I did. I'm all set,
I know you know how to do that.
Oh, you wise it.
So you want a minute to take a look at that? This is 333 Clap Road. And the discussion we're having was where the stone patio is off the house. They'd like to reset that stone patio, remove the railroad ties, retaining wall, and sort of grade that out a little bit. This is pretty much all in the 50. So it's a lawn area that's there now. They have a leach field in the backyard.
Yeah.
It's sort of between the house and the shed. So they want to regrade that area and build a little bit of a stone wall, kind of coming down the middle to sort of to separate that a little bit. And then the other piece is right now there's piping that takes care of their downspouts. And it came out to, I'd call it a head wall. There's a small stone wall, sort of a J shape, the back of the property, and you can see where the wetlands lines would probably naturally have followed the backside of the stone wall, but because those pipes all discharge at that location, now the wetlands comes way in that little point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that sort of probably created that wetland area. And what the applicant is asking is if they can remove that stone and do some sort of a dry well there. Technically they're in the wetland at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I would wonder, Jen, if you had any thoughts on this, if rather than that stone came out, but create a like a
Like a splash pad or a splash
well,
area?
rather than
No?
a splash pad, a rain garden.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was.
going to suggest as well. Hey, it took the words from me. Like vegetate that.
yeah, so create an area that the water can spill into. Maybe, Chris, you would, if you looked up rain garden kind of details.
We've done a couple of those.
So if you created a rain garden there and that water could go into that, I don't think we could allow excavating that and then putting stone and structure sort of thing where it's in the wetland. I grant you that it was probably created by that, but it's there and it's delineated like that. So my thinking would be probably more like a rain garden to fill out that area and vegetate that way. And I think that would serve you better. You know, you don't want that backing up. If those pipes don't come to daylight, and they backed up, it could give them some real trouble at the house. So I think that would be a better kind of solution, something that we might be able to condition.
Okay. I think I could talk to the homeowner, but I don't think and we've done a couple of those. I've done several of the rain gardens in similar situations, so we can do something functional and decorative.
Okay. Any other members want to add to that? Penny, you've got your hand going.
Yeah. No, I think the rain garden's great because I was sitting here thinking, it really needs to be vegetated. And if the homeowner has a question on it, go down the street back towards
Appleton Field.
Yeah, but the rain garden that they did for that development there, Frank, that is turned absolutely spectacular. The one
yeah, at Studley Farm, but they're not going to be anywhere near that big. This thing's about.
I understand that, but I'm saying it's something to look at. So it would look nice in your backyard if you do it right. That a rain garden can be very appealing to the eye. Yes, it's going to be a tiny, tiny one compared to that, but it would just give them the idea, the applicant, because yeah, I think it's a great idea, the rain garden.
Sorry, where did you say that was located? The rain garden, the much larger one, just as an example.
Studley, right
Okay.
at, go back down Clap Road towards North Scituate, and it's on your left-hand side. Studley Farms, it's called.
Okay. Yep, I know that.
Yeah,
So that's a really large one for that subdivision out in front, but it's vegetated with wetland plants, and maybe Chris would, before you do that, it would be good to make a sketch and show us what you're going to plant there. Give that to Jen.
Sure.
So we'd want a sketch of that before that got started.
Just a quick question. So in that case, is in the rain garden, that would still exclude the stone wall?
I would think the wall could be removed, and then you could build out that rain garden at that location with the pipes discharging into the rain garden.
Can you guys hear me? I'm not sure if I'm muted or not.
We can hear you, Chris.
Me
Okay.
neither,
Yeah. No, Grant, I understand what you're saying. We've done these a few times, and to the point, like we can make it, we would remove kind of that existing wall and do something more decorative, some river rock and some field stone, and like I said, we could do some plantings to make it please the commission, and then obviously make it nice for you guys.
Yeah, I'm happy to look into that more. I'm just trying to understand it, because I'm not familiar with the concept. One thing I should note about that J-shaped stone wall is that does drop down a couple feet there.
Right.
So I would think. So I'm trying to understand. So are you saying that the pipes would not be buried? They would still flow out?
They would flow out on the. I think given what
Then it
you're
would still
telling.
need to be there would still be like a couple foot drop there, I think.
So I think what would be good is rather than close this tonight, I think what you should do is come up with a plan for that area. What we're saying is that you can't take that. You're right in the wetland, and granted that wetland is probably caused by the pipes, but at this point it's become a wetland. So if you and Chris could come up with a plan to address that area where those pipes flow into something, and a rain garden is a structure. It's not really a structure. It's a planting or area that can hold water. Typically has wetlands plants, and it would function better than what you have there now with just a bunch of sopping wet grassy.
Yeah. Understood. I
so
do have one, if I might ask one question just about that. So I understand, like you said, the wetland has kind of encroached mainly because the water's been draining there, over the last couple of decades here. My property is much bigger than this. This is a very small, narrow, zoomed in view. Overall, it's about an acre, maybe. So there's a lot more property to the left of this that runs along the stone wall and the wetland up along the side. And so just asking a question of, would there be any consideration to mitigate that area C and then provide mitigation plantings in some other part of the property to expand the wetland in another location that's not directly in the back part of the yard here?
So wetlands replications are usually what, 2-to-1, Jen?
Yep.
I think, I'm sure that you and Chris have an idea of what you're doing, but I think if you're gonna take that approach, you might be well served to get like a wetlands person that could actually understand that process.
Yeah, and that because that's what was originally proposed.
Okay.
When Merrill first did the survey and we were talking about a pool, they knew that they would need to mitigate, provide some mitigation 2-to-1. And so that was always something that was known, and it was just a matter of, okay, well, if we went through that process, where would the mitigation plantings be?
And the other question I have, Jen, can we do that under an RDA?
I mean, we've only done it under a notice of intent.
Right. So I think we could give you, under this RDA, we could give you the go-ahead to work on your patio and that small wall. But I think if you're gonna propose something more for this area, you're probably gonna have to file a notice.
Understood. And just a question, so not stating that that's what we'll do, you know, would that also be the case with the rain garden?
I think the rain garden, personally, I think we could work with you with that.
Okay, good to know.
But I think either way, it's probably good to continue this
Mhm.
and you folks come up with talk about what you want to do there and then we could come back to that.
Okay,
Hey, Frank.
That's good for me.
Yes,
I mean,
Eric.
that part is less pressing. It's more, you know, the railroad ties are all rotted out as well as the stairs, so it's become a problem. But you know, the other part, area C there, that's, you know, there's certainly you know, that's less pressing and we can work through whatever makes the most sense.
Eric, were you asking a question?
Yeah, I just was just curious because the water situation relative to that drainage outlet is a problem, right? I mean, as identified by the applicant, and is seeking resolution. But in terms of any mitigation measure outside of that area, like that doesn't necessarily address the issue of the drainage, correct? I think I'm just confused about the question that the applicant had.
I think it's going to have to do both. He's going to
Yeah.
have to deal with the drainage and figure out how it's going to deal with that.
Right.
And then at the same time, come up with some mitigation if he's proposing to alter that.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Yep. No, thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
And I might have missed this, but D, add native plants as needed. Is that proposed over in that location, that where you have D on the plan?
Yeah, that was the intent. Just in
Okay.
going through this process was to say, like I said, whether it's more the mitigation piece, that if it was, you know, it's beneficial that add native plants just in the backside, we're happy to do that.
Okay.
Can I maybe Chris and Mr. Sperling together? So if you wanted to get to work on your patio, we would want to we want to close this and issue a -3 for your, I assume if folks agree, for the patio work and the railroad ties. But if you're thinking that you're going to do something more extensive with this wetlands or replication or anything like that, then it seems like a couple of things would happen. You'd wind up either getting a positive determination, which means that you have to file with us for that. So I'm just wondering if you want to continue this and work and get, you know, huddle up and figure out what you want to do with this back area, or do you want to close this so you can get to work on your stone patio and then readdress the.
So,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think, yeah, Frank, to your question, I think obviously, you know, we'd like to get moving on this. My preference would be to get approved for the patio, the wall, the regrading, and all the work. Would the rain garden, if we went that route, be approved right now?
I don't think that we could, because we don't really have a plan for it.
We would want to see some sort of sketch and the plans.
Okay.
So we'd either continue it for you to get us some more information on that. And we could continue this till to the 23rd,
Yes.
and you could come back with some more. I can't tell you exactly how that's going to go, but you could come back to us on the 23rd with it if you thought you had a plan that we could deal with that evening. And I would say that you might consider a little bit of if you're planting in the rain garden, I think we're getting some decent plants and maybe a few more plantings along the wall or something as mitigation for that. But if you think you're going to go a further route and do a wetlands replication, then you're going to have to file a notice of intent.
Okay, I mean, I know on my end, I think it'd be good to get approved for what we can do right now, and I can talk to the Spradlins about their preference for the rain garden versus like a further mitigation route.
But Jen, can we amend or modify an RDA?
No, I don't have a way to do that. It would just be another RDA.
So you'd be filing another one or the notice. So you're okay with closing this and dealing with just the patio for now?
Or I thought I heard about continuing 2 weeks and provide a sketch with some plants.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to hear from
Okay.
them if either Mr. Spladling or I think it sounds like Chris would like to just close on the and get to.
I think what at least my preference would be to, and I think Chris is saying the same, would be to get started on A and B, if that's okay, and then we come back in 2 weeks as a separate.
Well, you'd have to
item.
refile.
Yeah, exactly. A new filing just for C and D.
So I don't
that won't be in 2 weeks though.
Okay, that would be in another month.
It would be from when you get it filed. We'll let you know the date. It would be within a couple weeks from when you file.
Okay. All right. So essentially the options are, move forward with A and B and then refile to talk about C and D at a later time. Or to continue this in 2 weeks and come back with a proposal for C and D to address the whole thing.
But if your proposal in a couple weeks is a wetlands replication,
right? Then then we'd need to go back to the beginning,
right?
And yeah, okay, I'm with you. So that's kind of a sub outcome of potentially what could happen depending on our preference. Okay.
Yep. So if you wanted to close, we would not be conditioning anything for C.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Chris, just off the cuff here. I mean, there's not a lot of urgency around C and D, so I'm perfectly okay to come back with a new filing, or rather, come back with a new proposal later and address that as a separate thing. But I also understand that you have constraints too. So
no, it's good. We work for you, so I'm fine with. If we want to do A and B, that works for me. And like I said, we'll come up with a plan for C and D, but that works.
Okay.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Could I just ask one other thing, Frank?
Sure.
Would it be unreasonable to request silt sock or something with the excavation that's going on, just because it is down sloping towards, I don't know. I want to be reasonable, but I also want to make sure that if there is heavy equipment going back there, that there is protection.
So no, that's a good point. So you guys are going to be coming around with some equipment. You're going to be digging out the patio, and you're going to be regrading around where that old septic was, and so all that's going to be raw. Correct? And you're going to be building a stone wall. So I think there should be a little bit of silt sock below this, with the idea of catching any runoff, get a rainstorm or something like that we don't wind up with silt further down. I don't think it has to be extensive, but there should be some erosion control for that area.
That works. Okay. Yep.
Maybe along the line, like the 113 line or something like that.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's easy enough, Rick.
okay,
Yep.
all right.
Okay,
Uh,
so do you want a motion?
yes, please.
Okay, I make a motion for a -3 for the patio. For section A and B, the patio and the removal of the
Ties.
railroad ties.
Okay,
Is that correct?
yes.
Yes, I don't.
Yep.
Nothing else.
So
Yeah.
that's a motion from Penny. Do I have a second? Brendan
I'll second.
or Eric? All in favor? Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. And Jen, you'll just get those notes of Josh in about the erosion control and whatnot. Good
Erosion
enough.
control, A and B. Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. Thanks, guys.
Good night. We didn't vote 530 Hadley Road because we didn't have enough people.
Okay,
If we can go back for a minute to 530. And Penny, what that was just a people are looking to have a parking area about 8 foot by 40 right off of Hadley Road. And I think we're doing this because it's in the flood zone.
yeah,
And so it was with pavers. We didn't see any real issue with that. It's where the number 530 is.
yes.
They have a little area there. And what we
Oh,
was
okay,
saying was that they would need to check with DPW because they're also going to be working in the town's way. You know, the line is there, but the road is probably 6 feet from that line. So they're going to be going up to the pavement. So they need to
Oh,
check
no.
with DPW. And then what we
Hmm.
wanted to do is make sure that they pitched it away from the road.
Yes,
Okay.
that sounds right.
So
So you want to take a vote on it?
we do.
Okay, so I make a motion for a -3. As long as they check with DPW.
So motion from Penny, a second
I'll second that.
from Eric. All in favor, Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you.
Okay,
So we continued Oliver Street, right? Because
Yeah.
we didn't have an applicant on the call tonight.
Correct. And we just got the information this afternoon.
Okay, so we're good to condition that. We got 530, we got 333. So now we're just on to administrative issues.
Yep.
Nice. So open space rules update.
Yes, we have a suggestion for some updates to the open space rules. They were reviewed with some formatting suggestions, but the change being somewhere in this PowerPoint, I might have the rules in there. Might be slide 9, maybe. So number 2 is what was changed about not, dogs not being allowed at the community gardens and Mordecai Lincoln. And then the other changes are more formatting, but not to say we have to keep it. It was just suggestion. But anyways, this is the suggested updated rules for Scituate conservation properties.
So the only thing that's going to change is you're going to add the word except at the community gardens and Mordecai Lincoln.
yes,
Correct.
Okay. So maybe just to add on to it a little bit, it might want to say, but dogs are allowed at Appleton Field and they're allowed at Crosby. So they're just not allowed within the enclosure of the community gardens. Is that right?
That was my understanding.
Penny,
yes,
you're part of it. So should we say that within the enclosures of the community gardens? So someone showed up at Teak Sherman and they had a dog. Can they bring their dog, but they just can't bring it inside the enclosure?
Yes.
So I think it should say the enclosures or fenced area, or however you, whatever term you want to use, of the community gardens.
No, that's what it kind of, we just automatically did it, Teak Sherman right from the get-go.
Yeah,
If
but
you bring-
I
bring
think
your
that's what
dog-
it should say in the
Yeah.
rules. And
Yeah.
then on Mordecai Lincoln, I think it should say the Mordecai Lincoln open space, because eventually, I mean, Mordecai Lincoln is going to be something similar. There's going to be a Mordecai Lincoln property. So maybe we could just add the word open space, Mordecai Lincoln open space.
The historic doesn't want dogs up there either, Frank.
Okay.
No dogs. It's been discussed numerous times and they do not want any dogs at all up there.
Okay. All right. Well, it's only going to be for our property anyways, but
Actually, this is, but I'm
Right.
just saying that they
They
don't
can
want,
adopt
they want the
theirs.
sign there because they don't want the dogs on the property,
Okay.
historic end either.
So can we put the word Mordecai Lincoln property?
Mordecai Lincoln property.
Okay. Eric?
Okay.
Yeah,
This is-
I think that is a good clarification for community gardens, and because like you said, I mean, they're allowed at Appleton, they're allowed on the trails adjacent to. But I think the main concern was just within the actual community garden space.
So actually, let's
that
think
was-
about that for one more minute. Sorry, Eric. Let's just say that we start to think about, I guess we can add it. We can add, if we start to look at managing that remaining field at Appleton as either farming or habitat, there may be an additional area that we want to include, but we can deal with that when that time comes.
Yeah, that's a good thought though, because if that, as you said, does turn into a space used for commercial ag, or if it's going to be habitat protection, I think that we have to look at it in the same veil as we do either the community garden space and protecting that land for, you know, ag production, or like we are sort of viewing Mordecai for habitat and resource protection area.
Yeah.
That Appleton Field might at some point fall under that same umbrella. So just as a thing to keep in mind, because right now it doesn't matter in Appleton Field, and there could be a solid argument, you know, made, you know, against forbidding dogs in that specific space at the moment. So, I mean, you could also argue though right now that there are nesting birds potentially in there, and
Yeah.
you know that it is, you know, still a habitat, even though we're not treating it as such because we're mowing. It still does provide habitat. So I can see arguments on both sides of it, but if you think it's an easy enough add at some other point, then maybe that's what we do.
I think we could circle back to it. I think we're at a good spot with those right now, and then we can talk some more about when we really come up with a better plan for, or a more formalized plan for Appleton. I think we're okay. And there are people that do have like bird dogs, things like that actually like to try to train them, and that's not a bad site for that. So we'll have to kind of consider that at that time also.
Okay.
Right.
So can we vote on to accept this?
And, oh, Brendan, Brendan's the other person that's
Oh, yeah.
on here. He's
Hi,
been pretty,
Brendan.
Hi. No, I'm good with it. I have nothing more to add.
okay. I know that Penny would like to make a motion.
Yes, I make a motion that we accept the change to the rules on the conservation trails. Number 2,
As discussed this evening.
as discussed this evening.
Well, accept them all because we've
All right.
tweaked the words on all of them.
Yep.
Oh,
So
all right.
accept
So
the
I
whole
make a
thing.
motion for the changes made to the rules of the Scituate Conservation Trails.
Okay. That's a motion from Penny, a second.
Speak up, boys.
I can't second it, Penny.
I know.
I'll second that.
Second from Eric, all in favor, Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Jen, will you send us, or Josh send us out when you just revise it the way that we talked about it and send it back out to make sure we're all in agreement?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, Driftway Park.
Yes.
Yes, Driftway Park. The girls on the run would like to use the field for their practice. It's twice a week, Sundays and Wednesdays, starting the middle of September and going possibly to the middle of November. Could end earlier, depending on weather. It sounded like everybody was okay with that. It's the group of 3rd to 5th graders. The group's no bigger than 20, and they practice for about an hour and 15 minutes on Sundays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
Just wanted to triple check everybody's good with that before they start.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Penny?
I'm fine. I think it's wonderful to see some action on that field, it being used and for such a healthy thing.
Okay. Eric? This is
Yeah,
sort
I
of
have
the
no problem.
grassy area just beyond the parking area headed towards the dog park, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm good with it.
Okay. Do we need a real vote on that, or you just
No, I just wanted to make sure everybody was good with it, and I did receive one comment to ask them to let us know anything they see on the trails that needs to be maintained to, to communicate that, and that
Sure.
would be helpful.
And just as an update, we're talking Driftway Park. So we've been talking, Paul Scott's been helping us put together sort of an RFP to upgrade the walkways and all that. It needs work. So that's on our radar screen to use some of the money that was appropriated by the select board for maintenance and see if we can't get that area spruced up. And then we're going beyond that to really start to think more about what we need to do at the Driftway Park. But that's where we are. Oh, and how did the gal make out on the power washing?
I think she's only done, she has not done all the tables. It took her longer than she thought, so she has not, I don't think she's even painted yet. She would have let me know, but she did get some of them power washed.
Oh, that's a big effort and we appreciate it. So, sure. Eric, did you want to say
No,
something?
I was actually just about to ask about the power washing and painting progress. I had been down there a few weeks ago and it looked like the power washing had been started, but I didn't know what the current status was. I did notice one of the tables, though, is sort of being engulfed by vegetation. I didn't know if he was going to touch that one or just act like it was being reclaimed by nature. But
Maybe
that was my only thought
I
on that.
took it down my clippers, Frank. I'm very good at that now.
well, we got if Paul and Jen, we've kind of been looking at this and we're going to take a walk. So we'll take a look and see if we just add that to the scope of what we're trying to do with the places. It just needs work. It's so much traffic, things are eroded and it's pretty rough. So we'll put that we'll look at that with the other things that we're doing there. Thanks for bringing that up. Can we we have the scouts, I think, waiting to come on. Can we flip this around, Jen? Is that okay.
Yeah, let's do the scouts.
'Cause I think the rest of it, there's nobody hanging, waiting for us. So if we can talk with them, then they can get their homework done.
Yeah.
We have a hand up though, Michael.
Oh, yeah, they are for the request to extend 131 Maple Street to extend the
Oh, all
order
right.
of
Well,
conditions.
let's do that one first then.
Okay, so,
Extension.
all right, so for it's 131 Maple Street, it's lot B, it's the undeveloped lot. They have an order of conditions. This would be their first extension.
Okay.
Okay.
3 year?
3-year.
Yep. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for an extension for 131 Maple Street for 3 years.
It's Penny, do I have a second?
Make a second, Pat.
From Eric, all in favor, Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Brendan,
Right.
does the cat have your tongue tonight?
No, why?
Oh.
All right, so to the Boy
He didn't like
Scouts.
being called old.
I lost who I'm unmuting. Where did they go?
We have Alec or,
Is it
there we go.
okay, there you are. All right, asked to unmute. Okay. So Alec, I did ask to unmute. If he can unmute, then he can discuss the project. And Jake also is unmuted.
Okay. Do we have both of you?
Hi.
Yep, we're here.
Good evening. So just for the commission members, this is a request. I think you got it. Hopefully you got something from us. This request from the Scituate Scout Troop 7 to create a camping area at the Maple Street Town Forest. And had a little bit of time meeting with Jake Graziano. He's working on this as a potential Eagle Scout project. And he's come up with some a proposal, and maybe he can outline it with us real quick. And if you have questions, you can ask him about that. So if you want to lead off, Jake.
Oh yeah, sure. Just 1 minute. Sorry, I need to
Sure.
open it. All right, sure. Do you want me to just read off the proposal sheet?
Sure. Why don't you go right through that? That'd be great.
All right, sure. My name is Jake Graziano. I am a senior at Scituate High School and a member of Boy Scout Troop 7. For my Eagle Rank project, I am very interested in building a campsite within the town forest located off of Maple Street. Currently, the Maple Street site has a parking area as well as a series of fire roads. The proposed campsite would be located off the main road about halfway between the abutting properties to ensure the site does not disturb the neighbors. There are currently 2 gates that prevent unauthorized vehicles from driving down the fire roads, which are able to accommodate emergency vehicles if necessary. Since the fire roads are wide enough and the campsite is right off the fire road trail, the campsite will be accessible and available to all. Do you want me to continue on that?
Yes, please.
All right. So just some information about the site. A short path will be cleared to access the site off of the fire road. And in the site, 8-foot by 10-foot pressure treated tent platforms will be built and installed onto 4x4 posts secured to concrete footings. A stone fire pit will also be installed in a safe location on site. Minimal disturbance will be inflicted on the surrounding environment. A porta potty will be brought on site, and there's a small parking lot at the trail entrance.
Yep.
Any questions about that or?
Why don't you just keep going right through this and then we'll circle back, okay?
Okay. So the reason to build this campsite is that there are currently no official campsites in Scituate, and accessibility to a campsite in town can build a strong camping community, and will also open up more conservation project opportunities for not only the scouts but also our community. And also, camping is a perfect way for people to explore and enjoy the outdoors away from technology. And then who will use this campsite? All groups and individuals in town will have access to the site with the proper permissions and a fire permit. The fire road and paths are unobstructed and flat, allowing for accessibility requirements. Troop 7 will use this site for camping, merit badge training, and conservation projects in the area, and other scouting troops will also be invited to use this site too. Some safety about the site. I plan to meet with both the police and fire chiefs to discuss requirements for the area to be as safe as possible. And in order to host a fire, a camper will need to acquire a fire permit from the fire station. The fire roads that run through the forest are wide enough to drive an emergency vehicle on, and the gate to the fire road is locked, preventing trespassers from driving in. Ownership and maintenance. The Conservation Commission would be notified when the campsite is in use, and ideally, someone in town hall will be in charge of managing the site's reservations. And Troop 7 will maintain the site as needed, clearing out overgrowth and obstructions. And a carry in, carry out sign will be installed to ensure trash isn't left behind, and is the camper's responsibility. And finally, Troop 7 will also check in regularly to clean the site of any trash that was left. And just the closing, I'm very excited for this project to be carried out, and I can't wait for this site to be in use. Campsite is exactly the addition our town needs, and this is a perfect start.
Great. That's a pretty good summary, Jake. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is, we've talked about this, I think, informally a little bit, and Jake's tried to pull this together. We've talked about trying to have a site in different locations, and to me, the Maple Street Town Forest really hasn't had anyone looking over it, so to speak. We have volunteers that have sort of adopted other properties, but this is a site that hasn't. The DPW does some clearing in there, but there's also been a lot of misuse of the property, and thinking that having someone involved in this site like this would be a positive for the town forest. If we agree that this is a good idea, this has to go to the Board of Selectmen. So that would be another step. Maybe Jake would first want to speak to police and fire just to say that he's got that done. But we can discuss that further. I'd like to get some input from commission members, if we could. Eric, you want to, any thoughts or questions on that one?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea. I agree with you, Jake, that I think that it's something that the town certainly could benefit from. I think other troops, in the area would also be able to benefit. And I like that you've proposed it to be open to all, with the proper permissions and permitting. So with that being said, I am curious, just with regard to the platforms that are being built. They're going to be on footings. That's going to be like concrete, like poured concrete sonotube type footings, or like how is that construction? If it is going to be using poured concrete, how are you planning on getting water there?
Yeah, I think the plan was to pour concrete. I haven't looked into that too much, but
Can I make a suggestion that maybe, given that they're tent platforms, they also make these precast concrete footings. There's
Yeah.
sort of a pyramid shape with a top that affords a 4x4 to go in, and you may find that that's sufficient, um, as opposed to lugging in
Cement.
cement and things like that, Jake. Something you might be able to take a look at.
yeah.
It might make it a little quicker and easier for you. And if they heave a little bit or twist a little bit, it's only a tent on the top. It's not like a building. So, something to think about. Um, how about Brendan?
Yeah, thank you, Jake, for presenting this tonight. I fully support it. I really don't have any questions. So looking forward, best of luck you getting this started. That's all.
Thank you.
Penny?
Yes, I'm so excited, Jake, to have camping back in town. As Frank knows, I think he was alive when this was going on, but up the West End, way, almost into Norwell, we used to have a huge campsite that my brothers went to every year. But I do have one question for you. When you say it's open to all, are we talking groups, like church groups, school groups? When you say all, you don't mean individuals, do you?
So Penny, I
Yeah.
think what would be good thing, it needs to be available to like outing groups, like you say,
Yes.
school groups, things like that. We really hadn't thought about it in terms of individuals. And that's something that I think that the commission will work with the scouts in
Okay.
coming up with some use rules. And then we can go from there
Okay.
to decide
So,
how much more we'd like to we think we can allow it to be used or not.
okay.
There are several towns, Marshfield, Hanover, a bunch of them do have some small sites that people can sign up for and use if they don't have the opportunity to go somewhere else, and we can talk about that. But
Yeah.
I think he's worded it fairly well that the scouts should have the first dibs on using this property. They get um their schedules and whatnot. And I think Jen and Josh will have to kind of sort out how that gets administered. But I think that's going to it is going to fall on the commission. I don't see it being a huge
Okay.
project, but I think we're the ones that are going to have to keep um that schedule, um
Okay.
sign up
I
sheet,
just
whatever.
personally, I would love to see it for groups,
Yeah.
for kids, not, so I would love to see that they get the first dibs on the campsite.
Well, I think the scouts would get that
Yeah,
opportunity
the
first.
scouts would first, and then, a school group or a church group, that's what I'd like to see before the general public. That's all.
Yeah, they might be able to offer it at the senior center.
You never know. You never know. No, I think it's wonderful. I am so excited about
And I imagine there would be like a time of year kind of thought on when it could be used or not used.
Okay.
And they might
Maybe. I'm just throwing that out there.
when we had talked about this before, and Jake can correct me or whatever, but I think a lot of the hope was that this could be a place where it'd be sort of like a shakedown cruise, if you would. If the troops gearing up to be camping somewhere else, this is a
Yeah.
place where they could, you know, do that for a few days, or as opposed to like it's not going to be a summer long campsite. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jake. Um, but the idea would be that it would be used um, more for them to prepare for larger trips, or things like that. Place where if they said, you know what, we got a weekend and we can throw something together as a way to help the troop with some different activities.
Right.
That's the opinion. That's sort of what I got from this.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I think it's wonderful. Okay.
Anybody else? Jen? What are your thoughts on like keeping the schedule or reservations?
Oh,
Well, I
Josh?
don't know about the reservations or what the technicalities of collecting the money and that, but certainly being part of coordinating all of that, yes.
Okay. Would we have a fee for it, do you think?
Oh,
I just because if somebody else is coming in and I don't know, I would assume there would be something.
I just
I
see
think
it
there
being
should
used.
be, yeah, I think there should be a small fee, nominal fee. If there is going to be a porta potty on site, that will require some sort of service thing. And I think that if there are groups or individuals that would like to use it for a night, 2 or 3, whatever happens to be a weekend, I feel like in order to help maintain this space, it might make sense to have a nominal fee.
Well, the porta potty will be at the expense of I think that's going to be brought in and brought out. So if someone's
I see.
planning
you
to
would
use
say.
it, then that'll be one of the requirements is that they'll have to reach out and have one brought in and then
Okay.
have it removed after. It won't stay there. It would solely be there for the outing and, and then go, because otherwise it could see that becoming more of an issue.
Yes.
And that's expensive. I mean, they're over $100 a month now, so it'd be $1,500 for the year. So I think that's going to be the responsibility of who's ever using it to bring that in and take it out. And we'll have to make that part of, maybe we can come up with a simple form people can check off or whatever.
Right. Of what the things to do when you're done at the site, things to do to prepare to use the site. And I assume there would be some sort of fee, but again, just a nominal fee because and it would be, we can certainly figure out how to keep track of reservations.
Okay. All right. Well, if the scouts are funding building all these things, I'm not so sure we want to be asking them for money, but certainly other ones. But we can work towards that end. But those are the kind of questions that are going to come up as we move forward. So, Jake, you can give some of that some thought. We're going to ask to get put on the agenda for the select board. So we'll work together with you to get to that point. And in the meantime, it might be good to reach out to both the police and fire so that you can get a discussion with them, see if they've got any concerns.
All right, cool.
All right. So can we take a vote that we endorse this?
I make a motion that we endorse the Scouts building a campsite off the Maple Street, the town forest, right?
Yes. It's a motion from Penny. The second
I think that.
from Eric. All in favor, Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. So I think you want to start to move towards the police and fire, Jake, and we'll work together to reach out to the select board. How's that sound?
Awesome.
Good.
Yep.
Great. Well, thanks for staying at this, and we'll try to keep this moving along.
All right, thank you.
Great. Have a good night.
Awesome.
You too.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. How about certificates of compliance? Oh, Jen,
Green donation.
I didn't ask this earlier. I don't know. Did you have a chance to distribute anything from that Captain Pierce Road site?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That's it can't be on the agenda. Jen and I met with Mr. Ford on Captain Pierce Road. It's that barn that's on that corner. The
Oh, wow.
DPW had come and asked if they could remove a couple of trees on the corner, which sort of brought the site to light. The trees were removed. It's a sightline thing. Mr. Ford was showing us his ideas on making some more changes. This has been an ongoing project. There was a project conditioned that then expired, and then they changed their plan, came back with something else. I think we might have discussed it. But in the winter, they were doing a septic system, and we approved all that. Am I
Their orders expired, and so he refiled
okay?
and got a new set of orders.
So he's got an isolated wetland, and then he's got some plantings and what not to do around it. And now he's asking if he can put up like a single rock wall and change a little bit the um, limit of work, if you will. And it's kind of a tricky site because it was pre-existing. It was a barn and a house and a piece of property, and they subdivided some of that. And so he has this barn that he's been slowly working at. Um, and he's trying to figure out his landscaping and protecting that isolated wetland. So Jen and I met with him and Greg Morse, and we directed him to come up with a new sketch that might change the limit of work a little bit, but maybe allow him to put these rock walls along the edge of the road.
Oh,
So I think that's I think that's where he is
Yeah.
with all this. But
it changes.
I think hopefully he'll get a sketch in, and then we can look at it and decide if it's a minor modification or whatever. But we told him not to do anything with the pile of dirt that was there or the pile of rocks or basically anything else. He's been cleaning up a bunch of stuff. It was all a sort of overgrown site, and there's a pile of metal that he's collected and stacked up there, and just trying to see if we can't kind of bring this thing to a closure.
Yeah, it's been a long time, Frank.
Yep. Yeah. All right. But he's supposed to get us a sketch, and then we can go from there.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You want to go back to the land donation off Summer Street?
Yes. So we have a request from a couple that would very much like to donate about, was it 8 acres of land in back of their property. So they live on Summer Street in Norwell, but they have about 8 acres of land that's in Scituate. They'd like to donate that to the Conservation Commission of the town. Brendan and Eric and myself had a chance to meet them and walk it some time ago. Either one of you guys want to chime in on it?
Do we have any access to it, Frank, or is it just we're getting open space?
You're gonna have to bushwhack from Crosby or whatever. There is no frontage on
Okay, but if you ever wanted to, you could get to it through Crosby?
you'd
It's
you'll have
connected to the swamp. It's
Yeah.
connected to town-owned land.
yeah.
Well, we go through the swamp, we have. in
I
the
think
past.
probably more in the winter you'd have a better
Yeah,
chance.
right. I know when it's frozen, but all
Yep.
right. I'm just trying to, oh, okay, wait a minute. Now I'm seeing where it is. Off of Summer. Okay. Okay.
Josh, I might have the plan farther down in the slides. If you scroll down, I'll let you know. Yeah, or right there. I don't know if this helps get in the map at all.
So these
This summer.
Yep. So these folks were
they're
there's been development proposed on and off over the years, and they very much don't want to see their property developed, and they figure the best way to protect it is to give it to the town.
Oh, this is so swamp.
So
Is
there's
there parcel B? Is that what I'm looking at?
A and B, parcel A and parcel B.
Okay, at the back of the South Swamp.
and it's not far from Cowings Cove, which we got.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it's like a donation. If anything, it protects the wildlife. Gives them a place to hide from us awful humans.
And the watershed.
Yeah, in the watershed, yes, the South Swamp is very, very important.
I think that area there primarily drains towards Cohasset, but some might start to head towards Cowings Cove.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
It's all good.
Yeah, we have to protect whatever we can.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be something that people walk on, every single piece we have, you know?
I mean, we just had a hearing. That hearing off of Summer Street abuts this property, and they're building a house in back of that
Yeah.
that other one. So
Okay, let me just ask, Jen, have you heard from a Petro Leah? P-A-T-R.
Penny, can we
No,
finish?
it's same type of thing though.
But can we
And,
finish this one?
Okay,
Thanks. Brendan or Eric, anything you wanted to add?
No, I think it's just, yeah, I think we should. Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. I mean, we're going to protect this, so it isn't going to be something that people will be able to walk, but it'll be available for wildlife, and as you said, and I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, I think for all the reasons already mentioned, watershed and wildlife protection, as well as sort of just increasing the amount of conservation land in the west end adjacent to the South Swamp is an important initiative. So I think that acquiring this land just furthers the commission's endeavor to continue preserving and protecting, our natural resources in our town. And it is certainly an interesting property. I mean, when we were walking back there, there is significant grade change heading back towards South Swamp. I think that there's, I think there's a lot of value in holding on to this, as a town and putting it in conservation status. So all for it.
Thank you. Can we take a vote on this? That we would like to accept this property so we can go before the select board?
I'll make a motion that we,
Hey, Penny, I
Yes.
have if you do want to accept it, I do have language for the motion. In fact, Josh, it might be slide 10.
okay. You
wanna
want me to read it? as a
Yes,
motion?
please.
Okay, we, the undersigned, representing a majority of the members of the Town of Scituate Conservation Commission, do hereby accept the deed of George H. Davis and Genevieve S. Davis of the land included in this deed. Want to
I'll second that motion.
I'm just, that's what the attorneys recommended that we vote, Jen?
That's what the attorneys that's the language they sent. And it would need to go to, as we've mentioned, the select board also. What was my one other note? Well, I had mentioned about accepting it pending town council review of the deed. They were able to review the deed. So the next step would be, and I think I might have included it, the actual deed that gets signed, that needs to be agreed upon and formally done, but all of that is for the select board.
Okay. So what do you think we should hold on this vote and just say that we endorse it and get get the blessing of the select board and then do it, or you think we're okay to just go ahead and vote this?
Because we'll need to sign this quit claim, correct, in order to make it official.
But you know what, I think the selectmen have to nod, give it the nod as well. So I'd go ahead and vote this. Penny just read it.
So
So I have Penny with a motion. Second, either Brendan or Eric.
Second was Eric.
Eric, all in favor, Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Thanks for putting it all together, Jen. Appreciate it.
Okay, so I'll send that on to the next group.
Yep. And it sounds like you had some correspondence with Mrs. Davis.
Yes, we spoke a couple times today.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Could I interject?
You can.
Well, we're on land donations. Jen, have you heard from I'm pronouncing it wrong, but Patrolia? They approached CPC with some land, but Dan said, go to Concom with it. Have you heard from them about?
Off the top of my head, I don't think I have.
Okay,
It's not ringing any bells.
Last week or so.
Okay.
And
So that would be Petrolia, right? And it must be part of the over there, like by the DPW barn. Remember, we had a lot that they asked if they could try to go across the wetlands to do some perks, runs along the railroad bed.
oh yes, I do now, Frank.
So
Yeah.
they have a bunch of land in that area that never got developed. They put the roads in, and then with the Wetlands Protection Act,
Right.
a bunch of that property became undevelopable.
Okay, well, he wanted to sell it, but Dan said, no, you need to go to Concom and you can donate it. So I was just wondering if you got a hold of anyone about donating it. So we'll just sit and it's up to him to come to us, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. If I don't say something when I think of it, my brain. Okay, extension.
We did the extension, the C of Cs. I do have I think one of the owners is on the call for 83 Gilson Road, if that's okay, Frank, if we talk about that one. That was work on the cliff. They did some work on it. They did including dealing with the invasives. So they filed their as-built, but the idea would be to include, well, they do have perpetual conditions in their orders, but that would be just letting you know, the idea was that would be included for them to continue to handle the invasives if and when they come back, considering they're surrounded by invasives on either side.
Right.
Sounds good.
Okay, and you're in agreement with it?
Yes.
Okay. But you can issue that, right?
Yep. So
Okay.
that was all I have to say about that one. And then 38 Revere, I did have a couple questions about their plan, so they got their as-built updated with that information. That was a detached garage that's on piles. They do have it open underneath. There is some material that was brought as was approved on the plan for where they go into the garage. And they did the plantings that we asked as far as protecting some of the vegetation and beefing up some of the other areas where we asked for some more to be planted. So I'm okay with that one. The 36 and 36 rear Baileys, I am not okay with, and I did receive a few comments from folks. I think there was a couple questions. One being the area right next to 36 Baileys. It doesn't have anything going on. It's not grass. It's not planted. So since that's where there used to be parking, I think we wanted to make sure that something happened there so that was stabilized. They do have a fence in on, I want to say it was like the 30-foot buffer with conservation markers on it, and then they have all their plantings on the other side of that, and they've been a couple seasons. That was one area of question.
Well, the other part, I can't remember which is which. Maybe it's 36, but one of these, the enclosure underneath the house is not in compliance.
Yeah, I've asked for information on that. I asked if the only thing I've been given is that it was FEMA compliant when they were getting their occupancy. And I
Yeah.
asked if it's still FEMA compliant, and I didn't see an answer to that question.
But we usually, they can get occupancies before they get a certificate of compliance, but that doesn't compel us to give them a certificate of compliance if they're not in compliance. So they're barking up the wrong tree.
You'd be hard pressed to get a piece of paper between those slats, let me tell you. Forget about water. But
It's not even that, Penny. There's almost like a wall.
well, that's what I'm saying. They made a wall there. Oh man.
It's insulated and
Oh, I didn't know that inside. I don't remember when we were out there. I know we were trying to peek inside. I just remember, Frank, when you, myself, Amy, and we met Jeff Morse out there. No, not Jeff, Greg Morse. And they had planted some plants, but they planted the wrong kind of plants next to the house between the berm and the house.
Yep.
And they died. And we, at that meeting, I remember vividly, they had to replant that area and we had asked them to put a post and rail fence across the area to make sure a car never got parked there. And it's just nothing there but dirt.
Okay.
No plants, no, seagrass or no nothing, no fence. I mean, they don't get a CSC in my estimation until this work is completed properly.
Okay. All right.
So you're doing good, Jen.
Minutes? Do we want to do minutes?
Yeah, I make a motion, we accept the minutes of 4:24 and 8:19 as written.
Anybody want to second that? No?
I'll second that.
That was Eric. All in favor, Brendan
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thanks, Penny. Josh was getting concerned.
Yeah. Do we have to do the enforcement, or you're just listing for us, Jen, that they're out?
A little bit of both. So I added 206 and 184 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. 184 Chief Justice came in asking about, closing out the enforcement order. I'm not saying we do that right now. I'm just letting you know he's documented so many seasons of his plants. Might be appropriate to do a site visit. If I remember correctly, when we started all this, we included a peer reviewer to come do the final inspection when we were ready for that. And then for 208 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, I did find a memo speaking to the plants having gone in. I don't have a follow-up from that. I'm getting these confused. Let me say that again. 208 is Pacheco. He's the one who asked about closing it out and has sent in. I have several monitoring memos. 184 Chief Justice is the one where I did find a memo of the letter from Michael Ball that the plants went in. I don't have a status of them at this point. So they went in May of 2023. So it would be good at the end of this fall, being 3 seasons, to at least have a letter with how they are, some sort of report. I just wanted to bring those back up because
Okay.
they've come up from a few different angles, so I thought it was worth getting back on the list.
Jen, when you want to bring this list back up, can we get Kevin's Way up on the top of that list?
Yep.
Please. And then
Oh.
these other properties, you've sent out letters.
Well, 109 River Street is the one where I sent a letter and I have heard nothing back. So I guess I can send an enforcement order. It's just,
Yep.
I guess I got to give a date of fix your fence by this date. Maybe
Okay.
would that be logical? That's the one
Sure.
where the fence
Yeah.
is kind of buried.
Yep.
Yeah. Before the winter. And a storm comes.
And 162 Jericho.
They need a new letter. I sent them one letter a while ago and they responded. So they were ones where they paved when they came in for an RDA to pave at 160 and then they went ahead and paved at 162 also.
Right.
So the 160 is, was all part of the house that's been there for a while. Had been paved. 162 was a raised rebuild, and did not have
Permission.
correct. So that's another one that does need something sent to say to remove it.
Pull it up.
Okay. 162 Jericho. And the 115 Grove Street is not a quick summary.
Okay. All right. We got enough for tonight. Anybody with
Okay.
anything else?
Yeah, I just want to give one quick thing on September 19th. My bids will be open, so have my fingers crossed somebody comes in and we can get the driveway and the parking lot done at Mordecai Lincoln.
Wow.
Yeah, it went out, so Frank, could you give a shout out to Leo? Because he's the only one that I'm concerned has not made an inquiry.
Okay.
I would love for him to, I don't know if it got misplaced or something,
Okay.
but it's a week from Thursday that they're gonna open, so if he's interested, he's gotta, get a little shake on,
Okay.
all right?
Yep.
Anyways, things are going nicely over there. The
Good.
town's doing a great job, and Eric's gonna help me with the meadow, especially this spring. Eric, can I ask you a quick question? I have a spot that I can get milkweed pods. Can I go get them and just fling them around out there?
Yeah, it won't hurt. I was
It
over
won't
there
hurt.
and I took a
Okay.
look. It seems like there's not a whole lot going on at the moment, but we'll see how things continue to develop over there.
Yeah. Okay, but I guess there's a spot down the man house that there's a ton of milkweed. And I was
Yeah,
approached,
get your hands on whatever
whatever I can.
and every. Yeah,
And
that'd be
then
good.
there's another spot we can transplant in the spring, right? That's when we'll do it. I have a bunch of plants we can have, but you said to wait until spring.
Yeah, we'll deal with that in the spring. I think that'd be the best course, at least at this
Okay.
point.
That's all. I just want to know what's the best thing to do. So I'll just let them die down now, the spot that I can transplant from. And then when they shoot up, we'll get up there with our shovels and move them. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
I'm trying. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Okay.
All right, that's it for me, Frank.
All right. I'm good. Anybody else?
No.
Well,
Brendan's going to sleep. I'll make a motion,
know.
we adjourn.
enjoy a great week.
Yes, the weather's phenomenal, people. Enjoy it, except for the milkweed in the air.
All right. Thank you.
I can't win. Bye-bye, thanks.
Good night.
Night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.